You guys know I love me a bookmark. And they grow up next door to each other, and they are, not that Borders went out of business in 2010, but that's when this book came out. We think we know, like we think he's got the best life ever. Today's video Hey everybody, it's Audrey and welcome back to Chapter and Converse. Today's video is going to be a mix of new books that are coming out in November and my plans for the month of November with what I'm reading, and because I'm doing National Novel Writing Month. So you guys know I don't make a TBR, but I'm going to try and make a little bit of a plan for the month ahead. I'm also thrilled to be partnering with Book of the Month, who is sponsoring today's video. And they are an online book service for readers, and they are fast growing, they are super popular, and every month they curate a collection of new and soon to be released titles for you to choose from. Their team vets hundreds of books every month, and their mission is to promote new and emerging authors to help you discover new books that you're going to love across all genres. Book of the Month is completely risk-free, so if for some reason you're not interested in one of the 5 books that have come out or in one of the add-ons, you can just skip that month. So any month, anytime, no charge to you. But when you are ready to make that purchase, you're gonna find the best price out there for brand new release hardcover fiction. And you can get your first book for just $9.99, and I have a code to use down below if you're interested in doing that. So Book of the Month does ship to US addresses only, and again, I will have my link and all the information down below if you're interested in giving them a try. So one of the things that I love about Book of the Month is that they have a huge variety of thrillers, which you guys know is my most favorite kind of book to read. And you guys know I'm a Riley Sager obsessed reader, and they have all 5 of his books available as well. But this month, if you guys saw my November-December most anticipated release video, when I opened my Book of the Month box and saw this book on top, I completely lost it. This is Alison Gaylin's The Collective, and you bet I am going to be jumping like 2 feet into reading this book. I am a huge fan of Alison Gaylin. I have talked about her on this channel multiple times. I have read many of her books, and this is her brand new release, which is No Killer Goes Unpunished in The Collective. This is a revenge story, and I love me some good old revenge. So in this book, our main character is Camille Gardner, and she is a mom, and 5 years ago, her daughter was killed. And she is still obsessed with the privileged young man who she believes is responsible for her daughter's death. And along the way, Camille winds up being drawn into a dark web and meeting the secret group of women known as the Collective. And they all have different stories of loss. They're all on a mission for justice in a world where privilege denies accountability. So it says, fueled by mutual rage, the Collective members devise and act out retribution fantasies via precise, anonymous, highly coordinated revenge killings. You guys, this book is everything I want in a book, and I am so excited to have it. And you bet, like I said, I am 1000% diving into this one. The next book that I'm super excited about is How to Marry Keanu Reeves in 90 Days by K.M. Jackson. I love me some Keanu Reeves, and this is a contemporary romance, and I love the premise of this book. So this is about a woman named Bethany, and it says, Dear Keanu, you don't know me, but I'm about to ruin your wedding. So Bethany is 1000% obsessed with Keanu, and she finds out that he's getting married in 90 days. So she has no choice but to drop everything, and she is on a mission to find him, meet him, and convince him to marry her instead. And she ropes in her longtime friend, True Erickson, to help her on this cross-country trip that she's going on. And True is not totally sure how he got roped into this, but you guessed it, it might be that he has a hardcore crush on Bethany and he will basically do anything for her. So here we go. This is just contemporary romance at its finest. And it is, Lou is on a mission to find her perfect man, or will she finally realize that the perfect man has been right by her side all along? So I love me a little contemporary romance, and this one just sounds super fun. And I love me some Keanu, so I grew up in a Keanu era. Give me some Bill and Ted, give me some speed. I am all about it, and I'm excited for this one. It just sounds really, really fun. Another thing that I love about Book of the Month, which I mentioned earlier, is that they are on a mission to promote debut emerging new authors and get their books into our hands. And earlier this year, We Are the Brennans by Tracy Lang was one of their 5 selections. And you guys know it is one of my most favorite books of 2021. It is staying on that list. It is going nowhere. I absolutely fell in love with that book. And I'm so excited to see that there are more debut novels in this month's box. So the first one is by Naomi Krupitsky, and this is called The Family, and this is historical fiction. So this book actually has a prologue from 1948, and then the book goes back to 1928. So we have 2 daughters, 2 families, one inescapable fate. And this takes place in Brooklyn. You know, I love me a book who's set in New York. So we have 2 best friends, Sophia and Antonia, and it says they are best friends since birth. They share everything from the brick wall that divides their apartments to the shadow cast by their father's unspoken community, the family. Sunday dinners gather them to feast, discuss business, and renew the intoxicating bond born of blood and love. But the disappearance of Antonia's father drives a whisper-thin wedge between the girls as they grow into women, wives, mothers, and leaders. Their hearts expand in tandem with Red Hook and Brooklyn around them, even as they push against society's expectations and fight to preserve their complex but life-sustaining friendship. One fateful night, their loyalty to each other and the family will be tested. Only one of them can pull the trigger before it's too late. So this sounds very intriguing to me. I am super selective when it comes to historical fiction, but give me historical fiction in the 30s and 40s in New York City. And we have a disappearing father, so there's like a little web of mystery going on here. I'm totally intrigued. And then the next book is The Keeper of Night by Kylie Lee Baker. And this one says, Death is her destiny. So this is a fantasy book. And it says, I am too dangerous to let live any longer. It is written in the book of Anuku, decreed by the High Reaper himself. Death will come to find me, but I will no longer be there. Sounds super mysterious. So our main character is Ren. She is half British Reaper, half Japanese Shinigami, and she has been collecting souls in the London streets for centuries. So her and her brother pair up. They are fighting demons. They want to serve the goddess of death. And it says Ren will learn how far she'll go to claim her place at death's side. So I don't know if this is meant to be part of a series, but again, debut novel. And if you are into the fantasy, this might be a fun one to jump into. And then the next book is called A Little Hope, and this is by Ethan Joella, and this is set in Connecticut, and this is like small town vibes. It gives me like a little bit of Bachman feels to it, and it takes place over the course of 1 year, and it says it's the intertwining lives of a dozen neighbors as they confront everyday desires and fears, a lost love, a stalled career, an illness, and a betrayal. So this is about the community of friends, family, and neighbors, and it says A Little Hope celebrates the importance of small moments of connection. So again, this reminds me a bit of Bachman in the sense where I feel like you're going to have this community of people, and it seems like it's sort of heartwarming, but possibly heartbreaking and a bit emotional. And I saw in here that someone's got some secrets, and I love me some small town secrets. So again, this is A Little Hope by Ethan Joella. Both of this month's add-ons are nonfiction books, and this is the perfect time because it's Nonfiction November. And you guys know I love me a celebrity biography, and I also plan on participating in Nonfiction November, so the timing could not be more on point with these two. So the first one is Emily Ratajkowski's My Body, and she is an actor, she's a model, she's an entrepreneur, she's a writer, she's an activist, and this is a series of essays. This is her first book that she's written. And it says it's a personal exploration of feminism, sexuality, and power, of men's treatment of women and women's rationalizations for accepting that treatment. So in her series of essays, she is really investigating fetishization of women, beauty, the obsession but contempt for sexuality, the perverse dynamics of fashion and film industries, and the gray area between consent and abuse. So I am really interested in reading this. I was not super familiar with this book before it came out, but now that I'm learning a little bit more about it, I'm definitely intrigued, and I think this is going to be a wonderful read. And then the next one is Will by Will Smith, and I love me some Will Smith. I mean, the movies, the getting jiggy with it, like just all of it. So I think what's going to be really interesting about this book is this is definitely one of those you think you know, but you have no idea. And he is definitely like a Hollywood story. He went from this West Philadelphia kid to the biggest rapper and movie star. He's married to Jada Pinkett Smith. She is a dynamo in her own right. His family is a group of dynamic kids who are also celebrities and successes and singers and actors, and they do it all as well. So it seems like everything is absolutely perfect. And it says his family didn't see it that way. They felt more like star performers in his circus, a 7 days a week job they hadn't signed up for. So this is his journey of self-knowledge, him looking back at his career and also looking back at the impact on his family. And it says, few of us will know the pressure of performing on the world's biggest stages for the highest of stakes, but we can all understand that the fuel that works for one stage of our journey might have changed if we want to make it all the way home. So a combination of genuine wisdom, of universal value, and a life story that is preposterously entertaining, even astonishing, puts Will the book, like its author, in a category by itself. So I think this is going to be a really interesting story. And again, I love him so much. I just think he's such a talent, and I'm really curious to read about it and to be able to see not just the Hollywood side, which I love. I love me some Hollywood gossip and I love me some Hollywood biography, you guys know. But I think the reflection back and the exploration and the journey he goes on, I think is going to be really interesting to read about. And then a nonfiction book that I pulled off my own shelf. And if you guys have been around here for a while, you're going to recognize that I probably said I was going to read this one last year and I didn't. But this year, I'm going to make it my mission. So in the Rockstar biography category, it's Belinda Carlisle's Lips Unsealed. She was the lead singer of the Go-Go's, who was one of my most favorite bands growing up. I legit wanted to be her. I still listen to the Go-Go's because I will never ever break out of my 80s music. So this book did come out back in 2010, and I purchased this. And I know I've told this story before, but I remember it vividly because I bought this at the Borders in Midtown Manhattan on Park Avenue when it was going out of business. And I was like, I have to have it, I'm gonna read it. Which, again, how many times have I said that? But I'm going to make a mission to read it this time around. I think it's going to be really interesting. I'm very fascinated by the punk scene and them coming up at the time. And then when things kind of went a little bit sideways, but I think it'll be a really interesting read. And again, the Go-Go's are one of my favorite bands. So I'm making it my mission to read it this month. So then I also made a little trip over to my self-help section and I picked up 2 other books. So one I had started reading a while ago and just never finished for no good reason. I'm just gonna take my Post-it off the front here. And this is The Universe Has Your Back by Gabrielle Bernstein. I honestly don't remember why I stopped reading this other than I think I just got busy, and I started this a while ago. And I mean, proof is in the pudding that I loved it because it's dog-eared and written on. And this is one of those books where it's sort of a read and act kind of a book. So I think, you know, it was like teaching you about different meditations to do and then you would stop and do them. And I'm not mad about things like that, but I just got off track with it. And I started listening to podcasts that she was on, and she's got a great Instagram. She's got a great YouTube. And it's really about the reminders about having faith in yourself and not looking outside for things. And some of it is about helping to guide you and make decisions. And I really enjoy the content of it. I find her super accessible, very down to earth. And my favorite chapter title is Obstacles or Detours in the Right Direction. So it's really about reframing things that are happening, reframing situations that you're in. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, it's been a rough year. So I found this very helpful and I need to get back to it. I'm probably going to backtrack a little and go back to some of the chapters I initially read and then stick with it and read it to the end. And then the other one, which I just picked up last night, is Burnout: The Secret to Unlocking the Stress Cycle by Emily Nagoski and Amelia Nagoski. So I had heard a lot about this book months ago when I bought it, and bought it, didn't read it. And I know it's a horrible habit, especially when it comes to self-help books that I know that I need. So I just read the introduction chapter of this last night to see if this was going to feel like the right thing to read right now. And I really like it because it talks about the level of stress that women are under, and this is specifically targeted towards women, and how women experience burnout differently than men do. But it's all the things that you need to do. And now there's this new push for wellness. So you should take a bubble bath and you should do self-care and you should do face masks and you should go exercise and you should go do all the things that make you feel good and get your energy back and do all these self-soothing things because that's going to help make the stress go away. But now there's like a new added pressure that you need to be doing wellness. And if you're not doing your wellness and self-care, it's like another thing to be stressed out about. So there is science behind this, but the language so far is super accessible. I'm not here for a deep, dark scientific book or a deep dive into science. I just want something I can relate to. I want some strategies I can implement. And honestly, I want to read something where it resonates with me because that's the whole point of all of this. So this says, you know, there is science in it, but it is prescriptive advice, helpful worksheets, and exercises. So there's things to do. Give me a task. I'm good at following some rules. So I'm excited to read this one as well. And then from a reading standpoint, again, I'm not a TBR person and I'm not quite sure what kind of mood I'm going to be in. So I made videos about spooky books. I made videos about dark academia books that I wanted to read this fall. And I did make some progress there, but the lists, honestly, you guys know if you watch the videos, were so crazy long. So I'm not sure what my brain is going to gravitate towards or what I'm going to gravitate towards when I'm writing. So I'm writing a thriller, suspense. Sometimes I can read those kinds of books and it doesn't get in my head. Other times I need to read something completely opposite. And I'm honestly suffering from a little bit of a book hangover right now. And I could not figure out what I wanted to read next. So I have a couple choices here. And again, not to say, don't hold me to it that I'm going to read these specific books, but I picked up 2 new books here. So I actually did a birthday book haul video completely separately, which were all books that either were gifted to me from wonderful friends and subscribers or books that I treated myself to. So these are just 2 outliers for that. So the first one is The X-Hex by Erin Sterling, who AKA is Rachel Hawkins. And this is one of those books in that FOMO 2021 video, which I will probably make at the end of the year when I realize all the books that came out that I didn't talk about. This was one for October. I don't know how this one got by me, but it did. But I really loved The Wife Upstairs, and I'm super excited for Reckless Girls, which is her new book that comes out next year. But having just read Cackle recently, I'm enjoying the witchy vibes of things. But this is less horror and I think more sort of contemporary romance. I'm trusting there's some comedy to this and maybe some dark humor to it, like The Wife Upstairs had in it. So this one says, never mix vodka and witchcraft. So 9 years ago, Vivian Jones nursed a broken heart like any young witch would. Vodka, weepy music, and bubble baths. Sure, Vivi knows she shouldn't use her magic this way, but she's got a scented candle and she isn't worried it will cause him anything more than a bad hair day or 2. So then her ex-boyfriend Reeves returns to town and he is a descendant of the ancestors. And it says, with one calamity after another striking Reese, Vivi realizes her silly little ex-hex may not have been so harmless after all. So I think this will just be a fun read. This is so far away from what I'm writing. And then the other one, which is a dark-ish 3 Best Friends, a Lake House, a Secret Trip, What Could Possibly Go Wrong? This is Kara Thomas's new one, That Weekend. So this one is one of those 3 went up the mountain, but only 1 came back. That weekend changes everything. So it was supposed to be a perfect prom weekend getaway. Something terrible happens. I love me some mysteries like this. It sounds kind of spooky still, so I'm all down for reading spooky books all through the winter. And we have Claire as our main character, and it says she remembers Friday night, but after that, nothing. And now Kat and Jessie, her best friends, are missing. So I'm intrigued by this one. I know this is pretty recent. I've seen people haul it. I haven't really seen a lot of people talk about it, but I am in. This just sounds like it's going to be a fun time. So this is a contender. And then 2 books which I talked about in my Dark Academia video, which are still contenders, which I haven't gotten to yet. And the first one is The Ivies by Alexa Dunn. So this is Admissions Are Killer. We've got a bunch of girls who are trying to get into the Ivy Leagues, super competitive at Claflin Academy. They are seniors, they are competing, and I'm pretty sure the girls start to get picked off one by one. So I've heard some fun stuff about this book. And then of course, For Your Own Good by Samantha Downing. She can do no wrong, my friends. So I'm excited to read this one. Teddy Crutcher is the teacher of the year, and he is convinced that he knows how to teach the boys at his school and does things for their own good. I'm also pretty sure his wife couldn't be more proud that no one has seen her in a while. So Samantha Downing, I just love her so much. So this is a contender, again, very different from what I'm writing. And the next book I talked about when it came out back in March, and this is Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Boulet. And this is also a debut novel, so like ding, 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 it's the theme, you guys. And I have heard such great things about this book. So it's YA, but I've heard it's super dark. It has a lot of really difficult subjects in it. I've seen a lot of trigger warnings for it. I have tried to steer a little bit clear of too deep of reviews because there is a mystery thriller-ish aspect to it and I don't want any spoilers. So this book follows 18-year-old Donna Spontaine, and it says she's never quite fit in. So she's biracial, she's an unenrolled tribe member, and then her mother is part of this wealthy, prestigious white family in the area, and she has always sort of straddled both worlds but never quite fit into either. So she was supposed to go away to college, but then we have a shocking murder and it winds up thrusting her into an FBI investigation. So I'm not sure who dies and I don't want to know, but it says she's helping with the investigation of a lethal new drug, which is infiltrating the tribe and the community. So she somehow gets pulled into this, and then I believe there's some romance. So she falls for a guy named Jamie, who was a dashing young hockey star. So it says the deceptions and the deaths keep growing. Yes, please. So how far will she go for her community, even if it tears apart the only world she's ever known? So it says a rich exploration of the modern Native experience, a reckoning of current and historical injustices, and a powerful celebration of community. So again, I have heard amazing things about this book, and I'm finally going to dive into it, and I'm very excited. So if you guys have been around here for a while, you know that I am also a writer and I'm working on a book, and I have done National Novel Writing Month multiple times in the past, and I'm doing it again this year. So November 1st, 30 days, 50,000 words is the overall goal, but I am going to be a little nano rebel and I'm going to work on my work in progress this year, and my goal is to finish the first draft of it. So whether or not that winds up being 50,000 words, I don't know, because I don't really plot. So I'm not really sure how much further I need to go. I also don't write linearly, so there's a lot of different things going on here. But I have 2 nonfiction books focused towards my writing and my creativity. So the first one is The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. So I'm actually already in the midst of reading this. I'm almost done. I actually think I'm going to finish it tonight because it's really just like a series of small vignettes. And this is about breaking through the blocks and winning your inner creative battles. So these are the things that stands in your way. It's about the resistance. It's about pushing back. It's about shutting off the noise inside your head. And it's about the difference between being an amateur and a professional, and not in the sense of like you have to be published to be considered a professional, but how a professional pushes through, shows up every day, and doesn't let things get in their way. So this is just like a series of small nuggets of advice that basically resonate and hit home like nothing else. Translation, exactly what I needed. And then the second thing I got, which goes against all of my natural tendencies, but we are at the point where I need it, you guys. And this is Structuring Your Novel Workbook by K.M. Weiland. So there are multiple books in this series. There's books about outlining. So this is an actual workbook, and it helps you map out and structure your book. So like I said, I don't write linearly. I don't plot ahead of time. It gets me into a lot of trouble. It makes writing very, very difficult. I don't know how else to do it though, but I have bitten off a lot more than I can chew. And even though this is the 3rd book that I'm planning to finish, so I've finished 2 books before, I have had some false starts on some other ones, I have decided that it would be a brilliant idea to do multiple timelines, multiple points of view, and mixed media. And it's kind of a lot. So I am hoping that this book is going to help me bring it all home and bring it all together so that on November 30th, I am typing the end. So that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you again so much to Book of the Month for sponsoring the video today. And again, if you guys are interested in giving it a go, I will have my link down below so you can get your first book for $9.99. But let me know which of the books that I talked about today you're most excited about. Also, let me know if you guys are doing National Novel Writing Month. I'm probably going to take you guys along for a little bit of the ride. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do it just yet, but it remains to be seen. So I will see you guys very soon in another video. Thank you so much for hanging out today and spending part of your time with me, and I will see you guys really soon. Bye, everybody.